Hey everyone, welcome back. Market Monday. Said last Wednesday, if you joined us or you joined us last week, I said we'd be here same time once again, and here we are. I know a lot of you out there are going to be watching the recording. I say that every week because I know as we start these live broadcasts, we've got people who come in a few minutes, a few moments after we start the live broadcast, but there's also you wonderful people who are joining us by the recording. So glad to have you no matter where or when you're coming in on this session. Glad to have you. This is our Market Monday series from TRADEway. Specifically, we've started now, this is our third week, a series on, you know what, it's just not that scary. It's not that scary. I said last week, there are record numbers of people. This is statistically, this is true. There are record numbers of people coming into what we call retail trading. Brokerage firms are reporting record numbers of people coming into the stock market. Why is that? Well, there's lots of reasons probably why, but the opportunities this year have actually been amazing, and the stock market's been in the news quite a bit. So what are we doing in this series? Helping you understand some of these key things that might get in the way and keep you from pursuing a financial opportunity that is accessible to you, because we have the best markets in the world. In this country, in America, we have the best markets in the world, the best opportunities, the best companies, and the best access to tools that can make this so much easier. But if it's unfamiliar, then there's space for fear. Anytime we're unfamiliar with something, fear can hold us back. And sometimes culture, media, naysayers, whatever the case might be, or all the above, they help stoke the flame, if you will, of that fear and keep us from doing something. How do I open a brokerage account? What is a brokerage account? How do I even place a trade? Well, today I want to talk about what is typically, commonly, the number one fear that keeps people out of the stock market, keeps people out of trading. Number one. And that is, as you've seen most likely in the title, it is losing money. Losing money. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Losing money, because there's a perspective that traders have, professionals have, what we have here at TRADEway on losing money that might surprise you. It might surprise you. But what we're going to show you is that it's not that scary. In fact, it doesn't even have to look the way you may be imagining it has to look. The way people who are successful in the stock market, professionals in the stock market, Wall Street, our coaches and trainers here at TRADEway, the way we look at losing money is very different than the fear and naysaying that typically surrounds the conversation of losing money in the stock market. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. As always, right on the side of your screen, you're going to see the ability. Well, actually, I have it on the side of my screen. You may have it in a different spot on your screen at home. But if you want to leave us comments, say hello, Benjamin from Arlington, Texas. I see you there. Benjamin is the faithful. He's with us every single day that we are on here, Mondays and Wednesdays. If you want to drop me a line, a comment, a hello, a question, you want to argue with me, go ahead. Put it right there in the comments. I love having interaction from you guys, knowing where you're at geographically. Let me know something about yourself. And also, let me know where you're at as we're going through the material for the day. And I will be able to interact with you on that level as well. I love doing that, getting your comments. That's what makes this exciting for me, is actually connecting with people and making sure that we're zeroing in on the things that are helping you the most. I want to smash the fear that we have when it comes to getting into the stock market. You know, William O'Neill is a famous trader. He started back in the 60s. The founder of our company, David Mitchell, will often talk about this man. He's written many famous books. In fact, he is one of the founders, if I'm remembering this correctly, of one of the biggest investment newspapers in the country, even perhaps in the world, Investors Business Daily. William O'Neill And he was an extremely successful stock trader. And when he talks about losses in one of his books that I read, I didn't finish the book. I read a part of it, a chapter that he had in a particular trading book. And it said, if you will not control the losses that you take, you may, in ignorance, quit trading and step away. And this is the part I want you to hear. And step away from the greatest financial opportunity that we in this country have. Now, this was his opinion, right? This was his opinion on what we can do in the stock market. Now, this is decades ago. Remember I said record numbers of people are coming in, right? Decades ago. Why are record numbers of people coming in? Well, I also said that there are multiple reasons, but this guy right here is a big reason why. There is no fees for a lot of brokerage incomes now. If you missed our session on opening a brokerage account, you can reference that on Facebook, on YouTube. Go back. I highly recommend you watch that session. This guy gives us very easy access. William O'Neill didn't have this. He didn't have this. So it wasn't as easy for him even then as it is for us now. And he says, this is potentially, in fact, he didn't say potentially. That wasn't the quote. He said it's the greatest, in his opinion, financial opportunity that we have in this country. What's the difference between the them and the they, the us and the them? It's that somebody knows how to do it and somebody else just doesn't. I commented to a friend of mine on social media the other day when he posted something about record profits on Wall Street. And I said, the difference is that most of middle America doesn't have any idea how to successfully trade. It's principles. It's just like taxes. Now, I'm not making a statement here online about tax planning, but I will say that the wealthy know how to manage their taxes in an advantageous and legal way that most lower income middle America families, by the way, I came from a single income home, just my mother, two boys, okay? So that was my background. We don't learn a lot of this stuff. Maybe somebody out there today, you did learn this, but I know a lot of people didn't. And my point is simply, it would do us well to listen to some of the people who are taking advantage of these opportunities that maybe we didn't get some exposure from. And if we are listening, you're here, you're on this broadcast, okay? So there's some hunger there. If we are listening, let's get rid of some more fear. Let's get rid of some more fear so we can be free to pursue some of these opportunities and be out from under that influence. Benjamin says, argue, argue, argue. Yeah, bring on the understanding and then hopefully action, action, action. That's exactly it. That's my hope and goal out of all of these sessions that we do. Let me go ahead and just adjust this a bit here. Out of all these sessions that we do is that they'll turn to action. Because if they don't, what's the point? What's the point, right? That's what this is here to help you do. So let's get down to brass tacks, as they say, right? This is about losing money. So the number one fear that traders have when they enter the market, or maybe the reason they never even bother, is losing money. Losing money. Okay, well, here's 3 key things. We're going to break this whole session down into 3 key things that I want you to know. If you're note takers, these are the headings you want to have, these 3 key things. Number 1, okay? Number 1, you have only one guarantee, really, in stock trading. Now, I can't legally guarantee you profitability. But even if it wasn't legally required, I wouldn't guarantee you profitability because, and we're going to talk about this today, we can't know exactly what's going to happen in the market. Now, I can guarantee that you can learn a system which gives you an edge, but I can't guarantee any results except this, and this is my point. I can guarantee that if you trade, you will lose money. You will lose money. Now, it's probably not the number one you wanted to hear, right? You will lose money over time. It is an inevitability that If we are stock traders, we will lose money. Now, why does that help? How on earth does that help us get over the fear of losing money? Well, number one, it takes off the pressure and the I was going to say fantasy, but I think a better word is the pressure of this idea that if I'm a good stock trader or perhaps a good stock picker, that somehow I can trade and not lose any money. And if that's not possible, then I just shouldn't do it at all anyway. Well, there are many professionals, okay, and retail traders, which I've said in the past weeks is you and I, right? We're not professionals on Wall Street. We're retail traders, okay? I do have a securities license, so in that sense, I'm considered a professional, but I'm not one of those big Wall Street big boy traders. Point being, they understand you're just going to take losses, and they keep doing it anyway. They keep going. So we can know for sure that at some point we're going to take losses, and that is the first step here to breaking that fear. I promise you, the first step is just knowing it's going to happen. But Blair's got a couple more things to add to that so that I can feel like I know how to navigate those losses. But the first step is accepting that they're going to happen, because they are. They are. Statistically, there are too many. If every person who trades in the stock market, we call them a market participant, and they are a force on price in the market. If they're buying, that affects price. If they're selling, that affects price. There's no way I can know what all of those participants are going to do at any given time for sure. I can't know for sure. So the possibilities of losing some money in the market, it's just present, okay? It's an inevitability over time, and it's something that we need to accept. But now let me say this before we move on to point number 2. The losses should never be, and don't have to be, large, or I would even say catastrophic. This idea that if I get into a trade and it's inevitable that at some point I will lose money. Now, I want to teach you to know how to do this so that in the end, you have the potential of coming out ahead, obviously. Otherwise, there'd be no benefit to what we're talking about. But in the course of time, you will take losses, and I don't want you to be afraid of that. And one thing that's important to know is that when we do take losses, are going to limit them. We're going to greatly limit them. So they're inevitable, but not inevitable in that whatever I put in the trade, whatever I put in this investment, is I'm going to lose the whole thing. So let's dial back this idea that losses need to be more than I want them to be. Well, you say, well, Blair, I don't want them to be losses at all. Well, we've covered that, okay? We will have to take some losses. That is part of the risk of trading. And the process of learning how to do this is knowing how to make those losses small. Now, this takes us to number 2. Professionals understand that they will lose, so they are going to get better at it. In other words, they're going to say something like this: I know I'm going to take losses, but I'm going to learn to be a good loser. Learn to be a good loser. Now, listen up to this part, because I'm going to tell you some things that I think could potentially save some people out there a lot of money, because I've seen these stories happen when people who have one of these, right, or the computer that you're watching this on, you have just enough to be dangerous. You can get in the market, but that doesn't mean you have any skill sets. You can get in the market. I can get in the market and not know what I'm doing. And I can even have a string of winning trades, but I don't necessarily know what created those winning trades, and I don't necessarily know how to take a loss, okay? I spoke to a trader recently that had a string of trades, and in the end, didn't know how to take a loss. And they hadn't been tested on that. Hadn't been tested on how to take a loss until many trades had passed. And that loss they took because they didn't know how to take a good loss. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. It was devastating to their journey and their process. Devastating. So number 1, we're going to take losses. But number 2, we learn how to be a good loser. What is a good loser? In brief, okay? We covered number one, we accept the reality that they're going to happen. We release that pressure. We know they're going to happen. Professionals do it. There's a famous story, same guy, William O'Neill, talked about going into an office, and there was a trader much, much more experienced than him. And he said, you could watch this man trade. And if he was up tens of thousands of dollars and you looked on his face, you couldn't tell that he was up. And if he was down the same amount, you could look at his face and you wouldn't be able to tell. He had come to a place of neutrality. Why? Because he can accept that he has a system of trading, which is what we teach at TRADEway. Okay, that's what our programs do. We teach the system that we have of trading. I can't know what's going to happen in the market, but I can know what I'm looking for. And when I find what I'm looking for, I can take a trade. And if it doesn't do what I want it to do, I know how to be a good loser. And this guy that he describes, whether he was up or he was down, he was even emotionally. Okay, he had learned how to manage that. And of course, half of that equation is losses or even potential losses. Okay, so they know how to be good losers because they accept that losses are just a part of it. We talk about this all the time at TRADEway. If you have a business, you have business expenses. You have to pay something for the operations of the business. Now, fortunately, as a whole, stock trading doesn't cost a lot for overhead. If you want to start a stock trading business, like I said, you've got a computer, you've got one of these. It's free to open a brokerage account. Most brokers don't even charge fees anymore to execute trades. You need some capital to actually trade with, but you can start learning in a paper trade account, which is just virtual. So you don't need money to start learning that. That's going to speak to some of you out there. And then there's some educational costs, right? We don't want you to know just enough to be dangerous, at least not in that sense of dangerous, right? So there's a very low barrier to entry. So we need to accept that. And then here's the big one, okay? This is what I've said is going to save some people out there potentially a lot of money. We use something called a stop out. A stop out, okay? If I get into a trade, this is true of all my trades. If I get into a trade and it does not do what I want it to do, okay, I know how to draw a line in the sand, okay, in my mind and in my software that executes my trades for me, my brokerage account. I know how to draw a line in the sand that if the stock falls, let's just use this level right here. Here's the stock. I'll go over here. If it falls and hits that level, it automatically kicks me out of the trade. Okay? It automatically kicks me out of the trade. It's called a stop loss. It's an appropriate name. It stops the loss. And I get to decide where that is. And that is another thing we teach our students here at TRADEway. What is a stop loss? How do I put the order in? Where do I put it? What's a good one? Do I just pick a random price and put it in? That's what we look at. But professionals always use a stop loss. Again, if you're note takers, this is a quotable. You're going to want to take this one down. Amateurs, okay, amateur traders, they think about what when they get into a trade? They think about money. They think about profit specifically. Amateurs are fixated on the profit they can make in a trade. And even in the less than ideal scenarios, they're enamored with it. Now, obviously, we trade for a profit, right? That's the point of trading. That's our hope. And that's what we teach. But this is the saying. Amateurs fixate on profits, but professionals focus on risk. Why? Because they're risk managers. Good traders are risk managers. So to be a good loser, you've got to define the risk before you get into a trade. How do you do that? You have a stop out. You have good stop out rules. You know how to use them. You know where to put them. You have a good stop out, okay? And that's the next thing. That is a huge part of being a good loser. Also, another point. We learn how to actually take responsibility for a loss because we know as stock traders, if we're running a stock trading business, then it's our responsibility to call the shot. Because in stock trading, if you are in a losing trade, it didn't do what you wanted it to do, but you haven't let it get away from you. This is the risk you knew you were taking, right? I put in X amount of dollars. I'm okay losing a little. We've defined that amount. And now it has gone to that amount. Who actually has to push the button to realize the loss or the expense, right? I was saying it's a business expense. So in order to do business, sometimes we have costs, just like any other business. The overhead, like I was saying, most of us already have it. There's very little overhead, but we've got to pay costs in losses sometimes. Now, who has to realize the loss? I do. In my trades, I have to be the adult in my trades. I have to be the one who goes, okay, because until I get out of the trade, it's just a paper loss. It could come back. It could go down. Okay. Now, the deeper dive on stop outs is not the goal of today's session, but I want to give you a good preview of what it is. So there's a lot to explain around that scenario, but what I want you to understand is a good loser is able to take responsibility, take the loss they said that they were going to take, and they're out of the trade. You did not lose more than you said you were going to lose, and you live to trade another day, as we say, right? Amateurs can't take the loss. The idea that it could come back is too strong, but it's already gone far enough against you to the point where you said before you got in the trade, if it goes that far, I will not take any more risk than that. My neighbor who has no skill sets, he'll just throw it in there and see what happens. And it'll go right down into the ground if it goes again. We're going to trade for the long haul. We're going to learn to be good losers, which, by the way, I'm saying good losers a lot today. It's not like I'm walking around as a trader saying good loser to myself all the time, right? But I do know how important this is. So I'm emphasizing that today on this session. We have to be the one to say, all right, this is where the buck stops. Even though there's going to be that voice in our head that says, oh, maybe it'll come back. But you know what happens? One time it does. It comes back. We let it ride. We let it go lower, and we get even more anxious. And now we're totally ruled by emotions. We're not following our plan, all kinds of pitfalls. This is something I want you to hear. We did a session months ago even now, I think. What is the reason that they say most traders wash out? Which, by the way, I think just feeds into the fear that we're taking apart today. If we hear that, oh, wow, most traders, man, they wash out. Ooh, I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to lose money. Statistically, people don't make money, or they wash out. Well, I mentioned in that session, most of those people who wash out don't have any skills. They don't have any skill sets. They don't have any self-control. When I say we've got to be the one to stop out, how many of the people in that demographic, that statistic that gets quoted so negatively, how many of them actually stopped out? Because if we negotiate with that stop out, man, it can just run. It can just run away. And instead of losing a small percentage of the money we put into the trade like we could have, we couldn't control our own emotions. And now we've lost maybe all of it unnecessarily. So good losers know how to take responsibility for the trade because professionals manage risk. They're in for the long haul, and they know that if they have a good edge, meaning their system identifies higher probability setups in the market, they know that if I can stay in this game over time and execute trades over time, it's not just about one trade. If I can do that, then I lift the probabilities mathematically of giving me an ability to get ahead. But if I allow a big blowout loss in there, I just set myself back. And it's a blowout loss that happened because I Blair, all right? I'm pointing the gun at me today. Now, some of you out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've done it. You've done it. You've done this very thing I'm describing, and there's no shame because so have I, right? I like to say I know the rules well now because I broke them all. And we've got to discover which rules we like to break. And at TRADEway, we teach you how to navigate this process with wisdom. We teach you how to put the training wheels on at first, right? So that we can find out where our weak spots are and survive them and thrive beyond them. That's the goal of what we do in these programs, okay? And that, of course, is part of being a good loser. So the refusal to accept a loss is a driver for many of those trading dropouts, okay? If we can't cut losses, we're just working against ourselves. And why? Why let that defeat us when that is within our control? That, believe it or not, is number two. That is number two, but still number three. I want to burst a bubble here that I think drives fear. And remember, this session it's not that scary, but oftentimes we need understanding to diminish maybe some of the lies we believe or the perspectives that feed the fear instead of deflate the fear, right? It's not possible. I've touched on the edge a little bit a couple of times. It's actually not possible. It's not possible in the stock market to know what is going to happen, to actually know what is going to happen. I see this all the time. Traders, they think that if they learn so much technical analysis, they're going to eliminate the ability to take a loss because they're going to be so technically gifted that they'll be able to see anything that would work against their play. Now, let me say this. Technically advanced or even just technically trained traders, meaning you have a skill set. You understand how the markets and price work. You have a good, healthy mindset. You can take a loss. You know your risk tolerance. All the stuff we do in our programs here at TRADEway to help teach and honestly, really, it's been an exciting thing. We were talking about in a meeting earlier today, just how our programs here have grown so much. And we've been used to doing webinars for a while, even though the world is really using Zoom and doing webinars now and things like that. We've been using that for a while. And the way we've been able to do that helps equip and train our students so much faster than it ever has. So there's a process, but we're moving people through that process. But within that process, we've got to understand that getting an edge from the system is half the equation, but it never removes the possibility that we may take a loss. No, we still accept number one that I said. It's going to happen. But number two, we're going to learn to do it well. Okay, so I want to burst the bubble. There is no trader out there who has such advanced technical analysis, which is the term I use for charting. How do I look at price and see when there's a good opportunity and when there's not? Traders know that it's not about just chasing price movement or news or stocks that are blowing up on Monday, July 20th. It's about going, that's a good opportunity and that's not. And I have a skill set that helps me identify that. That's good, that's not. The second I look at a chart now, I can go, yeah, that's worth a second look. Oh, no, that's not. Click, I hit down on my keyboard and I'm gone. I'm on to the next one. And it'll take me about 10 minutes to move through 100 stocks, if that. Oh, I like that one. Oh, there's a good one. Skip. Oh, there's a good one. Okay. I've got a list for the week that I can watch and see for good opportunities, right? That comes from the skill set, but that never eliminates the possibility that I might lose. I define what I'm willing to risk to see if a trade goes in my favor. And if it violates that amount, I'm out of the trade. And that's a good loser. I'm not trying to control the market. There's too many factors. Too many things going on I can't control. There's no way I can have that kind of control through technical analysis. And anytime we try to control something that we actually can't control, it doesn't work. What's the fruit of that? Well, this is true in any area of life. It's anxiety. When I try to control something that can't be controlled, it's exhausting, it's distracting, it's de-energizing, and it makes me anxious because I know I'm not in control. And really what I'm trying to do is keep the outcome I don't want from happening, but I know in my mind there's no way I can do that. So let's just relieve ourselves of the burden altogether and admit, no, we don't know. We don't know if something is going to go our way or not, but we know higher probability setups. We only trade those. And if it goes against us, we cut losses that we can accept. And that enables us to live to trade another day. As I said, this is good stuff. I'm telling you, if you've never heard this stuff before, this is good stuff. This will literally transform your trading. And this is the kind of stuff, guys, you're like, well, it's our Market Mondays. Blair comes on. We explain some topics. We get some free stuff. He talks about these other programs that dive deeper into this stuff. And that's true. I keep saying it because it's true. There's value in those programs. That's where we train people A to Z to do this. But what I want to say is what I'm telling you today in this session, I literally keep telling our students, no matter what level they are at, advanced, brand new, these are the things that come back time and time and time and time again. This stuff is crucial. I always say it's not the basics. I don't like calling it the basics because when we call it the basics, it's almost as if we're going to introduce it and then replace it. No, we introduce it as a foundation and we build on it. We always come back to this stuff. So you guys are getting some good stuff here. So something else we talk about, and I'll finish with this today. If we don't have any questions, remember you can always comment right there, the side of the screen, this side of the screen, the bottom of the screen, wherever it is on your computer at home, go ahead and drop a comment in there. Let me know where you're at, what you're thinking. Benjamin's already arguing with me, so I'm just going to ignore him. No, we love him. He's on here every time, like I said up at the top. But love to hear your comments in there if you joined us since I said that. But I will conclude with this. If we do lose money, we accept it. We accept it. Emotionally, practically, we accept it. And that means that I don't have to feel shame. I don't have to self-punish. I don't have to judge my skills, judge my trading. I don't have to get over emotional. I don't have to quit. I don't have to whine. I don't have to go out and find another trade to get revenge on the markets. All these things that come as a result of the fear of loss, I can just let go of all that stuff. This is a huge part of the process, and it's a huge win when there's peace that starts to come into this area of our trading, right? I've learned to trust myself. I know I can take the loss well. That's going to release so much anxiety. I tell you what, it's going to make you a better trader. Promise you. The less fear you have in anything you do in life, you're just going to be better at it. I mean, tell me something that you did better when you were just terribly afraid, right? I believe in doing things that you're afraid of doing. I think life is on the other side of fear. Life is on the other side of fear. It's the number one tool that gets used against us as people, as children of God, fear. But it doesn't have the kind of effect on me that belief and hope and courage and love and confidence have. And the less fear I have in my trading, the more that I see the same thing occur. I trade better when it's not in control of my mind or my heart. So if I can accept this, it's a big win. We simply are learning how to control ourselves, limit those losses. And then I've said it, this will be my third and final time. We can live to trade another day. Live to trade another day, right? I've gone over this with literally hundreds, even probably now thousands of students on these webinars that we do, okay? So that said, this is a huge key. Market Monday, it's not that scary. You can lose some money in the stock market. It's not that scary. Do I want you to lose money? Of course I don't. I don't want you to lose money. I wish I could tell you that you're gonna win 50 trades in a row this year. I wish I could tell you that. right? But what I can tell you is you can get an edge. You can learn from people who know how to navigate that edge really well. And you can take small losses so that you could just go, okay, that's part of the cost of doing business. Now I'm going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to move on to the next trade. That's how it goes. It's a new trader perspective, new trader mindset, where we fixate on the trade we are in. Oh, I'm in Home Depot right now, right? Just an example. And it's like all encompassing. What happens in Home Depot is my destiny, which is, a bit overinflated. But it's about a series of trades. It's over time. Okay, we talk about that in our program too. Probabilities over time. Over time. Right? The casino will win over time. It's mathematical. The casino will beat you and me over time. You say, well, Blair, I've gone to the casino a few times. I sit in there. I made some money. Yeah, you can go in and gamble, which, by the way, stock trading is not gambling. Without a system, it's gambling. It's just throwing money at the wall, throwing money at the market, throwing mud at the wall, seeing what happens. That's gambling. You go in and you play cards, you go in and play slot, whatever gambling. And I know some of you would never gamble, and some of you, I get it. I get it. But the house will win over time. Over time, they will win. And that is called an edge. And that's what we want to teach you. That's what we want to teach you. That is what we teach people, is how do I get that edge over time? Okay, how do I keep it consistent? That's part of the process. Tom says, the more I put it into action, false fear vanishes with this knowledge. I'm just going to pop this up real quick. Tom, the more I put it into action, of course. I mean, this is classic. Anything that we learn that will benefit us, it's classic James, right? We hear it, we turn. As soon as we turn, we forget it. But we got to put it into action. We got to put it. So if this is hitting you today, drop a comment, ask a question, let me know. Put it into action. Put it into action. If this is part of the fear for you of getting started trading, then let's let this be the line in the sand for you. Let that thing die. Blair, I've been just so afraid of losing money. I'll tell you something else here. I was going to sign off, and I'm not. I'm going to tell you this first. We tell people, we take people through a process where they don't risk any money. It's not even real money when they first start trading, because we want to know you know how to execute what we're teaching you before any money's on the line. And then from there, when it's time, we go to the second stage, which is just very small money, just a very small amount of money. But money starts to incite the emotions. And we need to get you into that process at some point. So we'll take you through that process. Trading. And then from there, when we're ready, we can go on and we can start to use bigger amounts of money in trades. So there's a safety to the process we want to take you through. This isn't about going out tomorrow and throwing all your money into the market. Because remember, professionals think about risk. And we're going to help you do that. That is a concern for us. But of course, as we always say around TRADEway, nobody cares about your money more than you do. No, more than you do. Now, it's not necessarily true that that means you know the most about how to manage your money. So that's what we want to teach you to do. But you care about it more because it affects you. It affects your family. So empower yourself to be a better steward of your money and think risk more than just profit, because that will give you an upgrade for sure. David Turner. All right. How many of your trades have everything come together? S&P is going in right directions. All EMAs are in line. No visible resistance in the way, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this gets a little bit beyond just specifically what we talked about today, but it's a good question, and I'll answer it on here because we have a system that specifically says, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z to line up. And David, I feel like I've seen your name before. So if you're in the community pages with us, you can drop me a line as well. I'd love to hear from you. But, you know, even the S&P right now, the S&P, I've talked about this on here before, Market Mondays, is an index, the S&P 500. It's an index that tracks 500 growth companies in our economy, in different sectors of the American economy. So it gives us an overview of what's really happening in the stock market. How many trades? Well, I'll tell you this. I'm buying the S&P when it's in an uptrend. I'm not buying it when it's at resistance. Okay. Now, I talked a little bit on a session this morning about, well, if it's not all the way at the very bottom trending support, what if it's a little bit extended from that? What would I do? So that's a different conversation, but I wouldn't buy it at resistance. Okay. The EMAs, sometimes it depends on the pattern. The EMAs could be in different places. And the EMAs can always act as resistance. Okay. So we can dive a little bit deeper into that. David's question is saying, I'm looking for that edge you keep talking about, Blair. Okay, what does it look like in the market right now? And that is something that we cover in those courses. And David, I can see your response there. That's me. So he's a part of our program. He will be able to follow up on that kind of stuff in the community pages, which is a lot like what we've got going on right here, where you can just ask questions and I can jump on there and answer them with you. And from time to time, I'll jump on a Zoom call and do this very thing with students. Okay, so that's the kind of access you get. Questions are going to come up. I said, if you can get really good at technical analysis, is it going to help you? Absolutely. But it's never going to guarantee that you won't take a loss. So we're going to be a good loser. We know we're eventually going to take some losses, but it's possible to limit those losses, and that can take the fear out of it. David Dunn, I see this comment. 3 for 3. Glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's what we want to see. We want to see people trading. We want to see people doing well. Okay. So with that said, thank you, David and Benjamin and Tom and everybody who joined us here today on this broadcast. I hope that you got something out of this that's going to crush fear in your life, because that, I feel like the longer I'm alive, the more I'm realizing that's one of my life's missions. I've dealt with so much fear in so many things. And I want to see that happen for you too. So if this is holding you back, man, tell you what, I hope it's getting crushed. And if you need something else, Blair Nightingale, as I said from the top, you can always email TRADEway, Blair Nightingale, ask me a question. I'd love to interact with you and help you further. I am going to pop a link. I keep mentioning these programs we have. I'd be doing you a disservice if I wasn't extending you something that you can actually do to connect with us. If this is you and you want to learn to stock trade, I'm telling you what, it's a great time. It's a great time. And you know why? It's a great time in the market, but it's a time in your life. The time is now. Why wait? Why wait for an upgrade? You're going to get an upgrade in what you're able to see. And when you can see different, you can do different. Okay? And we can't change anything until we change something. I say this all the time. Choices change. Make a new choice today. If you've been joining us on Wednesdays, we've been talking about keys to breakthrough. Keys to breakthrough. We got to move forward, right? We're going to start a new series this week, but we've got to move forward. So I'm going to give you a link when I log off here on Facebook that will give you an opportunity to join the program. And if this is hitting you today, listen, there's no reason why you can't give yourself some access to the program, learn. You can cancel anytime. You can learn more about us. Gives you an opportunity to see who we really are and what we can really help you do. And even some of what folks have been saying in the comments today. Hey, why let that just be them when it could be you? Okay, so I'll post that. That's our hope. I will be back next Monday, as always. I will continue this series and we'll continue to look specifically at Alma. I see your comment there. They're just asking for the link. I'm going to post it as soon as I get off. For some reason, it won't let me post while I'm on the broadcast. So I'll just pop right over there. It'll be 30 seconds before I post it once we get off this broadcast. I was saying I will be back next Monday, but I will also be back on Wednesday. We're starting a new series on the Wednesday Wisdom. This is living at your fullest, living at your fullest, feeling alive, doing what you were born to do, feeling like you're making headway on the things that matter the most to you. So we're going to start that series on Wednesday. I think that's going to be an upgrade for a lot of people I know. And I've said this in the Wednesday Wisdom so far, telling you guys, repeating and reminding myself of things that I've learned along the way every Wednesday is just a byproduct of doing these sessions. It's giving me an upgrade. I'm getting more cranked. In fact, I'm more cranked on today's session as a result of those sessions. It's creating an ecosystem in my life. I like doing that. So I want to get some of that onto you so that you can be blessed and get that onto somebody else. So we'll see you for that on Wednesday. And until then, I'll post that link and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.